I want to move to where Runt and Iru are planning on going into that forest, unless James Uri, sorry. And so if James, if you want to say something else about what you want to accomplish or do, that's great. But
no, I'm good with that.
Okay, so we're moving into that you and she are going to do this. Now she says
she had a bad time.
I beg your pardon?
She had a bad time. Runt is not exactly the best person to be doing what he did. But
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, interesting. We are going to you're proceeding there. She's got a satchel.
Mm-hmm.
And she's telling you about the forest.
Okay.
The forest is a place where you are to be you are to beware, because once we are in there, she has no jurisdiction. She has no. The word she uses is place. She has no place, and you will lose all of your servitors. All of these little creatures are no longer under her care, and that therefore we're guests here. And I'm bringing you here because we need help, and I'm bringing you here because only here can I show you something that you need to see.
Very well.
Right.
When you say that you need help, could you be more explicit? You've spoken of Iru's ambition and his pride, but what specifically are you concerned about?
There is a door. There is a door to which he has the key. By key, I mean a way. I don't properly know exactly. I know the objects. It's used.
All I'm doing here, Ron.
Yeah.
All I'm doing here is just doing like the necessary exposition, so that I'm more or less on the same page as the other.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
And but she's going to talk about it very much as though she has a way to the door, but she cannot get through, and it's because he is keeping the important piece from her.
What lies on the other side?
What lies on the other side? We don't know what we're here for, she says somewhat abstrusely, right? We don't know what we're here for. We don't know what our purpose is. We know that we are. We know that this is our land. We know that we must have a purpose. I know that we must have a purpose. I know that we can learn, we can grow, we can gain tremendous power. Perhaps we can take our land wherever we want. Perhaps our lands can expand to become far vaster than just this little fragment. We can become great. There is no greatness in the cosmos, Runt. We can become great. Mm-hmm. We can become great. We know that this is our land. What if it was all our land?
What is Iru's rationale for refusing you his portion of the key? Why cannot you both pass through?
Perhaps he has an inflated view of his status. Perhaps he has a sense.
It would be a shame. It would be a shame to be partnered with such a person, says Runt as he draws his cloak about himself.
Right, I see. He said, if I have to take it from him, then I will, so that we can assume our rightful place with our land.
I understand.
So so when she comes to a place, she says, "This is the last safe place," Just inside the forest, there's a little glen there, a little open area with, a little pasture and a little, picnic area, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And she will open up the satchel and take out a egg-sized chunk, somewhat irregular, of very cosmic-y looking crystal.
Gotcha.
Right. Let's see what the other two are doing now. You guys are a little more open and free in what you're talking about. There had been talk about meeting Uri. You and Iru going and meeting Uri, and you two had slightly different ideas about how you might approach this or toward what ends, but we're effectively in accord about that. So do you want to do that?
So, Helia was rather wanting to sneak away from Iru and Iniku to try and talk to the sort of minions. Because she's not entirely comfortable with these things being bossed around and trodden underfoot. Perhaps try and get some accord with them. So I was...
Excellent.
I felt like we had a bit of a pause and a bit of a rest period happening.
We did. So there's plenty of time for this. And I think that's a really interesting point and well worth trying. So I'll tell you what they do. First of all, you will learn by observation, it's not very hard, that they trade off their jobs and stuff. It's not as though this one has this job and this one has that job. And they always seem to be one or two coming or going. And there's always a few who are standing at the little rift there between the returned part and the old part, waiting for permission to go run off to the forest. You guys saw that when you were coming in. Now you realize this is kind of a constant thing. Other than that, let's see. To describe them a little bit better, I would say that they look like kind of little goblin guys. You probably figured that out. And they have little kind of projections off the back of their elbows, wisps on their ears that point straight back, weird slanty brow ridges that curl around like this. But they're all a little different from one another in these kind of odd little lumpy ways. And when you get close is when you realize that they have more of a vegetable-y, woody quality than they have fleshy qualities. But they have very, very alert eyes. All of you have noticed their disturbing watchfulness. Whenever you turn and look at one, it was looking at you and has just averted its eyes. This tends to get really irritating after a while.
Well, they may be vegetable-like, but as Helia's not prejudiced against vegetable matter, so I'm going to try and talk to one. And perhaps one that's waiting near the rift to see if it will engage with me.
Sure. What role shall you use? Pretty much straightforward is the only. Pretty much diplomacy is what comes to mind.
Diplomacy, which is unfortunate, but what can we do? Yes. Shall I roll now, and then we can work out how bad the conversation is going to go. That'll be pretty bad then. That is. A 5.
That is pretty bad. I think I have to get a stat block out.
Yes. So I walk up to one all by myself without the protection of Iru, and hello, small creature.
Precisely. And the
small annoying being.
I think annoying may be the least of it.
Small oppressed being whom I may help. Small.
You will be helped.
Yes, poor little fellow. Poor wee fellow. How may I help you? The first thing to do is to check this ability of theirs. Just as the one you're talking to is nodding Oh, perfect. Well, the one makes its roll, and it's doing this to you. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh-huh. About to ask a question kind of look, a thinking kind of look, looks off that way kind of look, and you're kind of looking closer and closer and closer and closer on this one, because it's doing all of this sort of about to talk, attention getting, active listening kind of stuff. Well, however, the one behind you fails its ridiculous. They got plus 14 on their stealth rolls. Did you know that? Well, yeah. And so
I figured that out.
Yeah. And so Ross, it gets a 16, which is a pretty good but not an impenetrable stealth roll. It gives you a chance for a perception check.
Okay.
So I'm going to be a little, I don't know how by the rules this is, but I'm going to treat its result as your resistance, as your target number. So hit a 16.
In perception, no, 13.
Oh! Well, it succeeds, so this one gets a surprise attack on you.
Okay.
What's your armor class?
My armor class is 16.
Only one hit. My God, these guys are so bad at what they do compared to what they are on paper. Well, still, at least it hit maximum damage. 6 plus 5, 11 hit points. Ouch. 2 other little things whiz past your ears. The one takes you between the shoulder blades.
Ow. Is there any special effect of this, or is it?
No, it does. It just does a ton of extra damage if you can't see the one who hit you.
Ah.
So yes, that you are in combat.
Right. Okay. I suppose we should roll initiative.
Now we roll initiative.
11.
25. The one is going to take a movement and try and scoot to some partial concealment, which is in the area. They don't need much. Partial is partial. All they really need is, in this case, it's just going to be like the one of the posts that tethers this section to the land. So it's basically like hiding behind a lamppost. Okay. That's all it needs, because it can treat partial concealment as full concealment. And so so that's what it's going to do. It's going to dart over there, and then it's going to, for its move action, and then it's going to do a concealment, do a stealth check. This is what the one did under the table. Okay, so that's what that one does. Now, the one behind you, on the other hand, is going to attempt to yeah, as a matter of fact, that one's going to do the same. They don't like being caught out in the open. They really don't. So it's going to also, even just as you probably like turned to see what that was or something, it's attempting to move and take cover. So it's doing the same.
Ron, does Azalea get a opportunity action when these guys are
that was a ranged attack.
Okay.
So she was hit with a ranged attack.
Okay.
And if she and the other one she was talking to, I guess you do. I mean, if you want to like attack it.
Okay. No, I'm not sure there's any percentage actually on to fight these things.
Right. So, and actually, James, the only concern I have about that, now that I think about it, that was a surprise round.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, so basically, yeah, it's a chunk between the shoulders, and then she's like looking around, and they're like attempting to take action, to take cover. Make a perception check. This is easy enough.
Use different dice. Because that was a 6.
Okay, they vanished. I mean, it's like ow, and then like you look around and they're like, where the hell are they? Who hit me, and where'd the one I was talking to go?
Okay.
And that was a bad punch too.
Well, they've made it clear they don't want to talk to me. I am going to take a full defensive action and move away as fast as possible from
Excellent.
where I think they are, since I can't see them.
Right.
So that's 8 squares away from them.
Excellent. Now, is that 8 squares toward the edge of the cliff, which would take you over and down into the abyss, or away?
Away from that and towards the tower.
Just wanted to get a little clarity on that particular point. Let's just say that they have ideas about you in that abyss.
Okay.
So yeah, when you do that, which is a pretty good, yeah. You don't know this, but you outdistance them easily. They cannot move as fast as you with your cobra dancing, and so yeah, good enough. That's your experience.
As a minor action, I'm going to use my Ardent Surge and
Right.
the Healing Surge.
Good plan.
Okay.
And I'm double checking a couple of things. Oh, good, much better. Okay. As nobody seems to pursue you or anything like that. And as you approach the castle or the tower, Iniku, let's just say that you are able to see Azalea approaching at some haste. You didn't even know she was gone. And she's, zipping back to the tower from the edge. And walking just behind her a little ways, very casually, are 2 of the little minions.
Am I still with Uri?
I imagine you might be.
Yeah, I've been talking to her.
Iru.
Iru, and he's a him.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's true. Iru.
Thank you, James, for monitoring these things.
Laying the groundwork for why my future argument about what they're doing is wrong, trying to establish a groundwork to work with there, and look out and see, Azalea may have found something interesting. She's coming back here very quickly.
Right. Iru's startled and said, "Did she leave? What happened? She shouldn't go out there alone."
I don't know, but she's coming back now.
He leans out of a tower window, I imagine, and shouts, "Ho down there! Ho!" Says, "What are you doing? Come back!"
Yes, you don't have to ask me twice.
Right. At that point, you realize that your 2 assailants are walking very casually. They're behind you a ways. You outdistanced them, but they're walking very casually and innocently back the same way you are.
Okay. They might get a dirty look, but I think that's probably all I'm...
Say that again, Russ?
They get a dirty look from her, but I don't think
that's right. Excellent. All right. So Iru is saying, "Whoa, you got me all distracted talking about the cosmos and everything there, Ineku. I missed our guest running off. Really, until our control over our land is reestablished, you really shouldn't be, quite so free with your movements. I command here in the tower and on my land, but on this part of my land, but things are a little unconstructed elsewhere."
There are dangerous beings there.
Well,
from whence comes the danger? I have not seen sign of beasts or creatures. The ground did not seem to open up. Our path was the earth was solid beneath our feet. Where does this danger come from?
Our subjects, or the people of our land, are disturbed by the recent events. I can presume that Uri's leadership while I was gone was suboptimal. And I can also, it's evident, she obviously can't take care of the place without me. And then second, the impact of these crystals, this damage that's been done to the land, that you're going to help me repair and capitalize on. It's disturbed them. It's unsettled things. They are no longer really, they're a little dangerous if you're not careful, Eneku.
Well, I guess it would not surprise me that the fall of living crystal would disrupt things here. We will talk more about how to fix this problem once we get together with your sister.
Azalea, you return to the conversation as they are speaking in these calm and friendly tones.
I might agree that things are a bit dangerous here. Perhaps.
What happened out there?
A conversation went a little bit. It took a turn for the worse. I don't think I have the knack for talking to your assistants.
He waves his hands and says, "They don't have anything to say anyway. You've all got turnips for brains. Things will be different when our land is powerful and restored. They will be the happiest and greatest people in the cosmos. I want nothing but the best for them."
Kind of exchange glances with Azalea. Did that look as... without saying it out loud, did that sound as strange to you as it sounded it to me? The turnip heads, I want the best for them.
I think Azalea is...
For now, my focus is on this living crystal. We should find your sister and get this matter resolved as soon as possible.
Well, we can't trust anybody to go. We to send a message. We will just have to go. We will just have to go and have a little discussion with her.
That's fine by me.
I think with your friend, on our side, it should be fairly easy to. Well, I would hate to have to overpower her. You mustn't hurt her, you know.
Oh, I don't intend to hurt either of you. We need to have a discussion.
He looks a little concerned and says, "Yes, but after the discussion. I need that crystal." "Surely you understand," he says, looking at Azalea. "Surely you understand. I mean..."
I think we can get to we can soon get to a point where we reach an agreement. However, that has to happen.
Well, that sounds a little dubious, but you're strangers. You may have ways that I don't know. That's part of what I value here. Surprise. Surprise me, my friends.
Well,
and you'll surprise her.
As I have been discussing with you, I think there is much to be said about these crystals.
We will know all. We will know all of it. We will command all of it.
I'm not sure you understand the crystal that is before you.
Yes.
It is alive. It has an... Let's wait till we meet your sister. I really only want to go through this once.
Okay. All right. So, James, here you will be looking at this crystal. And unless you choose to resist in some way, your consciousness will expand such that you are surrounded by the unfolding manifests of its many facets.
Runta's having kind of a good morning so far, so he'll just go with it.
All right.
The one thing I wanted to clear up, presumably I talked to Uri before we set out for this forest, and she describes generally what we can expect to find in terms of wilderness or in terms of things that are there.
Right.
And so I just want to grab the usual adventuring shit that a person would have.
Yeah, absolutely. And foresty stuff. You need some.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Not
a ton of it, not a ridiculous amount or anything, but just, reasonable for one guy.
A very good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
And so you will proceed. Oops, come back here. There. You will proceed into you remember the kind of weird crystal, lattices and things I was talking about that aren't quite set. They can use them as quarters, but it's not like they were built to be quarters.
Right.
Well, you will be in a narrow one that, or how am I going to put it? Yes, a narrow one that quickly, laterally, so not down that way, but one side of it is this huge, massive hall. And it even becomes bigger. I mean, so you're like in a ballroom of this like massive stuff. And Uri is proceeding with you. And she says, "Here is where I will show you our dilemma."
How long has this crystal been in your possession?
We have, she says, well, and she kind of squints, she says, it was just before my brother left, or was separated from us. The crystal,
I see.
The crystal struck our land, and we investigated, and each of us came away with a piece. However, his tower was shaking loose from the rest of our land, and he ran to secure it, and it all drifted away.
Ah.
So I've had it since then. I've gazed into it once, and barely came away with my life. You must not provoke the guardian of the door. And so
I am a model of decorum and good taste.
Ah, yes, of course you are. So there, and then she went there, to get there, and then to get there. Yes. So she takes you down the ballroom area, splits one way or the other, and she walks down one of the ways. And so you basically have traversed quite a bit of these corridors. And after a little bit more branching, you come to the door just like they did last time. The difference, although Runt doesn't know it, is that the hinges are not on this side. And the handle's on the mirror side. So, and so she says, here is the door. Beware of its guardian. It watches us even now. And she says,
go ahead.
And she says, I show you this. We must get through. I have tried all my knowledge from what clearly the crystal that I hold is only one half or only one way. And perhaps that with his, we can together, if we stand here, if I stand here having entered with both shards of the crystal, then I can get through this door.
I see. And your apotheosis is presumably on the other side.
It will unlock all the secrets. I am sure of it. Why else would there be a door?
Well spoken. Although that sounds like monkish cant to me. All right, Runt doesn't intend to provoke anything. He takes her at her word that a key is needed. He has enough sense to realize that this is a metaphorical or a psychic or crystalline door, so smashing the hell out of it with a battle axe is probably not going to do anything. And I don't know, he makes a perception check, I guess, to look around for a guardian.
Excellent idea.
All right. And I'm
Are you guys
I rolled.
Are you guys like borking all your perception checks this time?
Yeah. Well, I did not roll well last time either, but I get a 2, and even with a +6, that gets me an 8. So I don't see anything.
No, that would not be a seeing thing.
Okay.
And it is. I'm going to check. Oh yes, well it's got a this on its stealth, making sure it doesn't fumble. Oh yeah. You're
Okay.
sadly, the drama of the moment is diminished by the dice.
All right.
So good enough. So she will take you back. Now, note that she has to take you back pretty much. Actually, make a dungeoneering check right now.
By the way, Runt is rolling his eyes when Uri can't see him about this whole Guardian thing.
Right.
But dungeoneering.
Right. Good enough.
All right. So I get a 15 in that.
That is good. Because without realizing it, she's actually taken you back by a different route. And you come back to that ballroom area through the way that you did not come. Which is to say that if you were standing in that big wide open area and you go this way, you'll get to the door.
Okay.
Or if you go that way, the way you didn't go, but the way you came back by, you'll get back to the door. In other words, taking the different quarters only gets you to the same spot.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm getting
when
at.
when we were in the door room, was there only one exit from that?
Correct. But I'm misleading you, though, because there were 2 ways to get to it. You arrived by one of them and you left by the other.
And in each case, while we were in transit, we didn't notice the fact that there was another corridor merging or coming in. It's one of these metaphysical MC Escher type things.
Well, not quite. With the put it this way, if you're standing at the door, there's 2 ways to get to that spot.
Okay.
You came from one of them. When you left, you went by the other.
Okay.
One of them went back to the ballroom by one direction, the other goes back to the ballroom by the other. So not quite as weird as it might seem, although the angles that you took are all wrong. They weren't like one flat floor. That's all I got to say.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, so you're kind of like, so both of those ways go to that one spot. It's not like I could have taken another corridor and been on the other side or something like that.
Right. Okay.
So yes. Now, just again, from the perspective of all 3 of us, the 2 of you did not see a great big open area like he did. Right.
Yes.
So the description, and so good enough. The players have been told something that the characters don't know, but that's how it is.
Right.
So so she says, all right, no, as you guys return to the forest, and she's like putting the gem in her satchel, right, and snapping it shut. She says, now we go to meet the heart of the forest. We go to meet the people of our land and try to reconnect, with your help, try to reconnect us to their beings.
Very well. When I interacted with your subjects before, they were admirably bloodthirsty. However, if you have no jurisdiction in this forest, if it is not, as you say, your place.
How many of them are there?
No. My concern is that even though you are revered outside of the forest, that we would not be safe traversing within it. That our lives would be in jeopardy.
We are not, but you lived.
Yes, I am dangerous.
Yes, which is a big help. And here in the forest, we may be able to speak to their collective consciousness.
Very well.
And to reason with it, and to remind them of who we are. Make an insight check.
It's not one of the things I'm great at. I get a 6.
All right. You know what? I can do this for the other two of you. Each of you make an insight check too, thinking about what Iru has said, because it's for the same reason. Yes?
All right.
You guys are a bunch of
So-
adults tonight.
No, that was good. 21 is good.
Oh, 21 for Iniku. How about for Azalea?
No. Azalea was 21. Aneku is
21.
not so good.
Right. Azalea, you realize that every single time that Iru has said we and our land,
Mhm.
he has not been referring to you at all. When he says, we shall rule, we shall reconnect, we shall expand, we shall do this, he is referring to him and to Uri alone.
That was in doubt.
Just wanted to point out that that's how she was speaking as well to you, although Runt hasn't
Okay.
figured this out yet.
Okay.
Unless
I
he-
thought he had.
Well, if you figure he had on his own, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But just in case.
I mean, she doesn't even know me. I mean, the notion that I'm going to be involved in this long term is not very plausible. Anyway, go ahead.
To you. All right. So we have,
That's the problem.
yeah,
Ineku was at a 10.
right.
And he actually may slightly think that there's some involvement here because of the crystal connection,
Right.
but he's not exactly confident that he's part of we, but he's thinking maybe there's a chance.
Right. Okay. So we have the next set of interactions. You guys, I think, should probably provision. He says we shall probably have to cut apart our way through some of the confused people. He says I would hate to do it. They are very, very, very useful, very obedient, very worshipful in the right circumstances when I'm looking at them. And in returning to our lands, they were most obedient. Now that we are back, they are becoming obstreperous. So
Well,
we must be prepared perhaps for the worst, especially if their heads have been turned by my sister.
I'll try and do everything I can to help you turn their heads back.
He says. Perhaps we need a... He's kind of scratching his head and says, I need a plan. Is there... Perhaps... shaking his head.
I think we have a plan. I think the plan is we find your sister, we make her see sense. But perhaps we need to show necessary force to convince the others of sense. So let's be about this now and
Okay.
arm yourself.
All right. He does. He arms himself with a wicked long scimitar. And good enough. You haven't seen it before. He gets it out of some, it's hanging somewhere on a wall. He takes it down. Says, this shall serve. So then, all right. To the forest. In the forest, you are aware that there are creatures that are watching you, and some of them are almost certainly so stealthy as not to be seen, but some are not caring. You get yourself a good look at what they are like when they're in here. They're bigger. They're more feral looking, almost cat-like in their grace. They're partly arboreal, squatting in branches.
Mm-hmm.
They are somewhat more neutral looking, actually, if that makes sense. More comfortable, more settled. Less skulky and shifty and sneaky looking.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more graceful and part of the world looking in here.
Mm-hmm.
And but yet you realize they're all about. You come to a place deeper in the forest, which is thickly overgrown, and there's one of them sitting cross-legged there with branches actually growing in and out of its arms and legs. And its head
Okay.
is so kind of like Wolverine hair, with the spiky things, but almost like brambles.
Gotcha.
And its eyes look up at you, and the eyes are glowing and yellow and very, very big.
Okay.
And it is about the size of a standing person, like Azalea, Aniku, or Uri, sitting down. So
Okay.
if it were to stand, it would tower over you.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
And if you want to imagine it being drawn by Miyazaki, you can probably do that without too much trouble. Right.
Yeah, I've been doing that a lot.
Right.
So, all right. Runt looks over at Uri and asks, "Do they speak language?"
They do out there. Here we must listen with other ears.
Ah.
And so she says, "Wait," and the smokes will enter our lungs, and they will, and we will hear and see differently. And so only now do you realize that the drifting vapors and stuff are growing thicker and thicker. So you're going to have to take in a good lungful of who knows what.
All right.
And so
my people have a similar custom at the solstice.
Excellent.
Let it be done.
Mm-hmm. So the first things first, you are going to
endurance check. Ron, are we still logging the checks that we fail and the checks we succeed at?
It depends on the nature of the conflicts. In this case, with the insight into that, you know what? Actually, that would probably count. Don't worry about the perception checks. The perception against the attackers don't count. But the failed insight as to what she meant, that's a failure for the two of you and a success for Ross.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, the so this one also is not a check of that kind.
I get a 28.
Excellent.
Whoa.
That's no problem at all. The funky spores are do not make you throw up or otherwise take damage. What you do is realize that these things have been speaking to you the entire time. But the littler voices, as they were speaking to you, fall silent, the ones that you passed by in the trails. And now this one speaks with echoes. There's clearly two actors on the mics,
Right.
And so, and what it says to you is, little thing, you have come far. You do not belong here.
I think he's talking to you.
She smiles and shakes her head at you. No, he's not.
Okay. Runt sort of shrugs his shoulders. I mean, yes, this is exactly true. What do you want me to do about it? I can't go.
Yeah. And the thing continues. This land is ruptured. We know of nothing to do but to scurry, to take root, to grow further, and to feed. You would feed us well.
Runt, I guess, just sort of rubs his nose about that, and and comments that if the land is ruptured and this is what you're reduced to, perhaps you ought to do something about the rupture in the land. And that there's only one of me and I'll only feed you for so long.
That's a good point. That's a diplomacy check, I think. I mean, not in the sense of diplomacy as wimpy, but, actually making sense.
Yeah. I roll this a lot. It's
you're surprisingly good. You're surprisingly reasonable for a big dude like that.
Yeah.
And so and so the Uri is going to back you up on this. She says, yes, repairing our land. That's what we can do. Yes, we can. And so the creature nods once and says, "Thus it is. We will wait." And then it looks at Uri in a very strange expression that you would have to make an insight roll to interpret.
Well, okay. Let's see if I can do better than last time. I get a 17.
Ooh, not bad. What it says is, "will be good."
Okay.
And what it means is, it's pretty straightforward, really. If she can get the land repaired, I mean, if she can make things the way that it should be, as far as everybody seems to agree about, then the whole balance of how she interacts with the rest of them, with all these beings, will be restored. And that it wants it. The collective unconscious of all these little critters, or maybe they're all expressions of the same root, who knows? They want it. They want the land back the way it was. They're okay with that.
All right.
There is somehow a desire here for serenity and for restoration.
Runt speaks, "Great Spirit. I apologize for my ignorance and my lack of knowledge about the deep truths to be found in this forest. But what is the relationship between this forest and Uri and Iru?
Aha!
You seem to be of different kinds."
Right.
And not always in perfect harmony in your desires.
Fantastic. All right. Well, fortunately, your expanded consciousness is exactly what I need here. The experience you have is the experience of bursting into being from nothing but a forgotten mote, perhaps left over from before the universe ended. Some little fragment of existence that had identity in the old universe.
Mm-hmm.
Bursting into being, taking shape here, and knowing nothing but growth, knowing nothing but blind increase. And this was the beginning of our land until it awoke, sought to know itself, and thus were birthed or created or jointly grown two beings to give it a purpose. And Uri and Iru were brought into existence by the land to be its purpose, to be its leaders, to be its desires.
Gotcha.
Without them, without it, perhaps they are two parts of one being. You get the idea that they actually grew as a single entity and then split apart.
Okay.
But they didn't have parents. They weren't born. They weren't. There is
Yep.
no race of
Yep.
such things.
Yep. I've got one more question, but if we want to cut away to Ross.
No, that's
and
one
Gordon,
more
that's
question
fine.
is good. Let's just say that you experience this. It doesn't explain it to you, and you
Yeah.
actually are yourself the land. You are yourself the creatures inhabiting it or being part of it. You are yourself these things, and then you are yourself this pod or mass or growing bit with a special quality. And then you, right when they turn into their two parts, their two beings, that's when your consciousness snaps out of that.
Gotcha.
Right.
Great Spirit. It appears that the crystalline meteor has caused trouble in this land. You are clearly a great power here. What would you have done? In other words, what would you wish to have done with this intrusion, with this crystal that has arrived? For it is I don't know if Runtus figured this out yet or not. I'm sorry if I haven't. Based
That's
on
cool.
exposition
Yeah,
so
go
far, I apologize. But it is our intention to enter the crystal and explore it, to have this place made whole. But that could not be done without affecting you in some way. I would not lightly tread against your wishes.
It says, left without purpose, as we feel now. Left without guidance, left without vision, left without hope, left without dreams. We are as vermin. And that is what I can only think now. It is only the memory among all of us of the way it was that permits me to speak to you at all. Otherwise, your bones here would be, even now, sprouting new. And here's
Great
new
Spirit.
people. I do not
Great
threaten.
Spirit.
I only say that you must listen to Uri and Iru and restore them and help them. They are our hope, the only hope we have.
Great Spirit, it is my intention to do so. But it appears that your twin intellects are operating at irreconcilable purposes. It may be necessary for us to come into conflict with Iru. Such is not my desire, but it may happen. For he may try to thwart the unification of the land. May we have the assistance of your sprouts and buds and blossoms in what's the right word? In persuading Iru to unify the crystal in the manner that it needs to be done. As I see it, if I understand it, that is in your interest as well as ours. For he is an impediment to what you seek.
Trying to think about the best way to handle this systemically. It says...
There is no Batman stat.
No, I know. No, sadly there isn't. I think I know. And it says to you, is this then the purpose of your being?
To reunite the land?
Yes.
The purpose of my being would be a tedious story to recount, but I will do so if time permits. I'm happy to do a cut here if you want, but
true. Okay. What it wants to know in game terms is whether you're going to adopt this as a major quest.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So, let's go ahead.
Runt launches into a long story
Right,
about
yes.
his quest for revenge, his desire to destroy and torture his siblings, his desire to conquer his tribe, use his tribe as minions to go back into the vortices, to kill the demon princes that lurk on the other side, to become a god, and therefore reassemble the entire pieces of the cosmos back to the way it used to be. It's an ambitious agenda, but you gotta do it. And this is why Zach reached out to him and gave him this vision. Because Zach senses potential.
All I can say is that clearly Runt has been reading the first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual and looked at all those little cartoons by Dave Sutherland of the characters advancing in level and fighting bigger and bigger things. So,
Right.
The thing to say here is that this is very interesting to Uri, giving her some things to think about.
Right.
All right. So let's. Yeah. Okay. We've reached an agreement.
All right.
Right. And so when you guys proceed out of the forest, you will find that there is a round dozen of these rather dangerous-looking versions of the creatures, of the people, with you. And they are armed. They are carrying what look like carved war clubs. They look like scary, leafy cat people. They don't look like they did as much as they did before.
Right.
They're quite a barbaric looking sight, in fact.
Okay.
And so that's what you will see, Eneku, Azalea, and Iru on your way toward the farm. As you pass the forest, is them emerging from it.
Okay. Guys, I need to take a break for
Right.
just a second. I'll be right back.
Yep, no problem. So cool.
Yeah, and actually, I suppose I actually haven't read the player declaring quest stuff. I don't know exactly how you want to work that, or even what the general way of that working in the book is. But when Eneku said, "I really only want to deal with this once," I mean,
I was thinking that you guys were getting close to major quest talk when you were talking about your plans last time at the end of the last session.
yeah,
You guys are getting
and
pretty
it
close to that.
yeah. The thing from Eneku's standpoint is, his agenda now, and at some point he would have tried to communicate this to Azalea, is these two need to change their attitude towards these crystals.
That's right. Oh, you're all about the crystals. Yeah, I get that. You're all about it. Yeah,
Iru and Uri have to change their attitude here. This is just wrong. what
yeah,
they're up to.
they're trying to enslave this thing. They're trying to command it. There are mysteries unto mysteries here, and there's someone else's opinion has to be sought or something like that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
They're messing with powers that they don't understand. Now, admitting that they are in themselves powers that he doesn't understand, but that's his slice at the quest. His agenda here is, he's going to give them a talking to.
Giving them a talking to is a minor quest.
Yeah, probably.
Right. Reconciling the relationship of the crystal to the land, whether it means separating it and making it go off and be its own world, or whatever, or integrating them into a new gestalt, or whatever, though that would be major.
Yeah, and Eneku hasn't gotten that far yet.
Right, so you're on a minor right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Brother Aniku, I would seek your advice and insight into something. We've heard about a brother and sister divided and fighting, and we know there is a crystal space with a door dividing it from something else. Could these two things be related?
It is possible. From try and block out everything I just heard Ron and James
Yeah,
talking about.
Have you heard of something similar?
That's
in all your
what
stuff?
the question is, whether deduction can get you there, especially deduction enhanced by the strange crystalline mind that may actually have insights into the crystalline problem.
This sounds like an Arcana check to me.
Yeah, I'm getting there myself. Yeah. Let's look up and down. Look for the big number, Gordon. Look for the big number.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy choice to make. That's true. So, Eneku kind of actually his instinct is that no. The way that Uri and Iru are behaving is just alien to the crystal. I mean, the crystal crashed into this land. It was not it did not grow out of here. His inclination is to think that there is not a connection there. But
they told us about a split in the very land that is associated with the crystal arriving.
The crystals might have triggered a problem between this brother and sister. I think we have been told that is when the fragment was set adrift, that it took eons to bring it back from. So it is possible that there is a relationship, but I think they are very different things, the crystals and these beings.
I'm sure you must be right. You are obviously more versed in crystals than I am.
What was your roll?
And my Arcana is 22.
That's a low roll for you.
It's a medium roll. It's a medium.
The thing that you can learn is that, yes, perhaps they are different things, but the way of... what is the crystal is more a matter of who is using it than it is of what it is. In other words, what you have experienced with the crystal has a great deal to do with who has it and who is identifying with it or possessing it.
So is that a tally or not a tally?
It absolutely is.
All right. So I'm now at 3 successes, 2 failures. And yes, I can... Azalea, one of the... You have reminded me of one thing about these crystalline structures, is they are very sensitive to what is around them. In some sense, at least in this stage of their development, what they are is influenced by what surrounds them, who holds them. So perhaps there's more of a connection here than I might have thought, because by colliding with this place, they may have taken on some of the nature of this place. I do not believe it is a proper destiny for such a crystal to fully become subservient to this location, but there may be some influence there.
Collectively, how many successes do you have? All three of you?
Did I get a success on my 25 diplomacy roll?
Yes, you did.
All right. So 1, 2. I have 2 collectively.
I've got 1.
Gordon?
And I have 3. And I have 3.
So it's a total of 6.
How many failures?
1, 2. Can I count that high? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Wow. And 2.
I had a hard time last time.
All right. I know exactly what's going to happen. Guys, I know exactly what's happening now. Here it comes. And The oh goodness, that counts as your second. Yeah. Here it comes. You get to you coming out of the forest with this weird band behind you. This runt. You see approaching Iru and Eneku and Azalea, also looking fairly warlike. And the two siblings will spot one another, and they will simultaneously point and shout, "You! Hand it over," or stop playing around. Other epithets of this kind.
Right.
And each one has very much the "I have tough friends now."
I'm making an intimidate roll.
Oh, whom are you attempting to intimidate?
Iru.
Okay.
Iru. We have made a pact with the spirit of the forest, which desires an end to this conflict due to your obstinacy. I would respectfully ask that you hand over the crystal that you keep for the harmony of the land depends upon it. Depends upon you doing so.
Excellent. Make a
no blood should be spilled for something that could be so easily avoided by lowering your ego.
Okay, so this is diplomacy again, I think, and I have intimidate. Sorry, yeah, do the intimidate. Yeah. Sorry, and I've got his will right here.
Yeah, I think it's a +5 if he's unfriendly, and like a +10 if he's openly hostile and wants to kill me. I get a 22.
And he gets a +5 or a +10. Is that the?
I don't know. 4E has different categories for like how much you want to kill somebody. There's neutral, which is like you can go, like I don't care what's going on with you. There's unfriendly, which is like I'm going to be uncooperative and I don't like you, but I'm not willing to like chop your head off. And there's hostile, which is essentially I'm going to fucking stab you in the face if I get a chance.
Right.
And if he's unfriendly, it's a +5 to his will. If he's hostile, it's a +10.
Got it. Okay. Well, he is unfriendly, which means that he has a defense of 21.
Okay.
And that means you just beat it. With 22. You guys might also be a little bit startled at just how intimidating Runt can be when you're on the receiving end, or at least near the receiving end of one of his pronouncements. Kind of like, oh, yikes, that dude's really fucking scary. So, so Iru kind of flinches, and he says, "Well, what's going on? He isn't he on your side? I mean, ours?" To Eneku and Azalea.
Yeah. And probably this is where Eneku steps forth and says, "There are sides here that you do not understand. You have been misguided in the course that you are pursuing. What is happening here is not what you think it is. These crystals are not a treasure to be fought over. They are a force of power in their own right. You can tell that I can understand them better than you. Just look at me."
Is this who
are you directed this to?
Yeah, exactly. Who are you talking to exactly?
So this is actually both Iru and Uri.
Right.
This is his. You two are not dealing with these things appropriately, and he will. Actually, his plan is to launch into a full explanation of why his arcane connections here are right, and use his arcane muttering
Right.
to make a
I will,
diplomacy check.
I will explain. I'm all for the arcane muttering here. That's exactly what I want to hear.
Yep. And so you two are not in touch with what's going on in the crystal. I can understand. I don't have comprehension, but I can feel that all your intentions are just wrong. You need to adjust your attitude here. We must find a way forward. Like Runt said, there is a healing to be made, not a contest to be entered into.
No.
Wait.
There's a crystal that will be in Uri's possession at the end of this discussion.
Go ahead and give me Gordon.
Okay.
And how did that go?
Okay. Well, so that went almost as well as it could. So that's a 30.
30?
I rolled a 19. I have 11. So
well, arcaneness.
almost as well as it could.
Okay, that's arcaneness. And that's arcane used for purposes of any other skill.
That's right. Well, used for purposes of diplomacy.
That's what I was asking. Right,
Yeah.
Diplomacy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You have a feat for that, or
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
magic
Yeah,
power?
there's an encounter.
That's what
power
arcane
of
muttering
arcane
is.
fruit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Is I know.
I know who the face of our party is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, once per encounter.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. It's pretty awesome, but I'm glad they made it an encounter power because that's like pretty insane. Azalea, do you want to weigh in on the what everybody says to everybody thing? Because this actually is going to have an impact.
Yes. So I'm assuming that Uri is standing next to Runt, looking slightly pleased with herself since he's been so intimidating in her behalf.
Well, at first, yes. And all of a sudden, she's starting to look a little worried and is looking back and forth between Runt and Ineku, realizing that there is disagreement here. Just like Iru, she was kind of thinking that if she got one, she'd have you all. And both brother and sister are realizing that it's not that simple all of a sudden.
So I think Azalea is going to snarl a bit and suggest that people are behaving like children and they need to grow up.
All right.
Or listen to their betters, and maybe this doesn't just apply to Iru and Uri.
Oh, I see. What then are we?
And I think this is
Intimidate.
stares and snarls and
Yes.
harsh words, and then intimidate.
Uh-huh.
And maybe I can actually roll some rubbish this game. Apparently not.
Oh no.
13.
13. Okay. Well, that's not your will, is it, Runt?
No.
No.
No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
it's not quite mine.
No, it's so yes, that has less of an effect than you might want it to. Now, Iru's response is to back away, looking upset and saying, "I'm surrounded on all sides by enemies," and says to Ineku, "You speak sense, but they're insane. She's got that monster. She's not going to back down." And he is actually pulling out some objects from his classically belt pouch. They look like little rocks.
Allow her to speak for herself before you assume.
Mm-hmm. And Uri is looking at Runt and saying, perhaps, he's only puffing himself up because he has your friends with him. Perhaps he will listen. So she actually looks a little less warlike than she did. Both of them actually seem to be, agitated, I would say, is probably the best way to describe it. You have succeeded in intimidating him. You have succeeded in rattling them both in their desire to harm each other or to have each other harmed to get the other crystal. But neither of them. But also, unfortunately, Iru seems to be reacting in a much more defensive and perhaps who knows what he's up to kind of way.
Okay. Runt is going to address Eniku for a moment, and I'm not going to do this in a special voice or anything because it's lengthy. But he's basically going to describe that there are two natural processes at work here. There's whatever's going on inside the crystal, and then there's whatever's going on with the biosphere of the land. And that Runt has had a mystical vision granted to him by magic smoke and herbs and the great spirit of the forest, which explains that Uri and Iru...
Guys, it's kind of a little forest. I just wanted you guys to remember that, but go on.
Yeah, it's a little tiny forest.
A little great spirit, yes.
Micro spirit. Yeah, and that they represent a syzygy, says Runt as he trembles over this word many times, and that the land is ruptured, they are ruptured, the crystal is ruptured. All must be allowed to have their themselves made whole in a different way. This is what every party here is seeking. The only question is between Iru and Uri. Who is to possess both of the keys? The crystal wishes to be united. The forest wishes to have the land united. And each of these two are contending to see who will be the one to reunite them. At the moment, Uri is the one with the great spirit on her side. I recommend that we follow its wisdom and allow the crystal to be healed in that way.
Well, a forest, no matter how small.
I mean, it was a lot of smoke, guys. It was
yeah. I could hear that in your voice. It's almost like I was there. A forest, no matter how small, is part of the forest. So that does not surprise me that the spirit should be strong. I think the part that Eniku, of course, is struggling over is I do not know that we should pick either of them. If there is healing to be done here, perhaps it is our job to conduct it, and we should invite both of them to join us.
Runt gives Uri the side eye at that idea. And it's just sort of sizing her up. But unobtrusively, if he can.
To see if she's interested in that, if she would do it.
No, to see whether or not it would be possible to take out Uri and Iru.
I see.
Probably one after the other, and take the land for ourselves. But I think that that's just a characterization. I'm not doing anything.
Oh yeah, right. I kind of like it though.
Eniku, I understand your intentions here. I believe they are noble. But I have made a pact, sealed in blood and with seed, to assist Uri in this matter. I would not be lightly forsworn.
Ooh, awesome. Moment of awesome.
Would it not fulfill your commitment to have her join in our quest, in our endeavor?
I would have to defer to her wishes in this. I have an agenda of my own, but it depends upon her being satisfied with the outcome.
Well, Azalea and I, we have seen the Guardian at the gate.
It's nothing. It's lights and shadows.
No, it is a creature of great speed and strength that shrugged off my attacks as if they were nothing.
Well,
So therefore, I think we would be well served to bring as many forces to bear as we could. Although hopefully, the Guardian will understand that our goal is not destruction, but understanding.
Perception
Although
check.
something he's
guys.
destroying along the way, that's probably
That's right.
okay too.
I'd like a perception check from all three of you.
Aha, 24.
I think I'm 15. Yes, I am 15.
20.
Okay, at 15, you realize that something has been happening over the last moment or two while you were talking that maybe you should have been paying attention to, and it's over there by the crystal. 20 and 22 mean that you realize all of a sudden that the crystal has undergone some sort of hideous tipping point of its development slash proliferation slash energies, and that something has gone dreadfully wrong, and that it is starting to rend apart, and terrible energies are issuing forth from the crystal.
Iru, I will only tell you once more. Hand over your shard. Your land is in danger of being utterly obliterated.
And you guys ready? And Uri will shout, and she'll look quickly to Eneku and say, "Here's my answer." And she shouts and points and says, "Take it!" And all the little wildens seize their javelins and war clubs and leap into action.
Roten leads the way on that.
Iru, by contrast, is hurling those pebbles down onto the ground in a very dramatic gesture. And as the energies of the crystal wash over all of you simultaneously. So, initiative.
How close is, in terms of positioning, you said that Iru was backing away. Is he close to the abyss at all?
No, you guys aren't anywhere near the abyss. You guys had actually gone quite a ways over past the crystal. So you're between the crystal and you're between the crystal and the forest.
Okay.
Are we near the hole in the or well or whatever?
Yeah, actually, you are.
Do we know where that goes? Did we see where that goes?
Like down into it?
Yeah. Have we experienced that hole at all?
No.
Did anyone tell us what that is? Okay.
That's where it hit.
Oh, okay. That's where okay. What's it doing over on the other side? Okay, Runt got a 15.
Okay.
And Azalea got a 15 as well.
Okay.
And 10 for Eneku.
Well, first to go is Iru, who hurls down those pebbles I was talking about, and shouts an arcane word. And where they strike, each one, there's a puff of starlight and smoke, and standing revealed in the column as the smoke drifts away and the motes of starlight wink out is a savage, muscled, utterly terrifying face, like nothing but warts and tusks and weird little eyeballs, and the face is like twice as big as it should be, the overall appearance of this thing is of a savage warrior. It's got like axes and weapons made of black metal, and it's drooling drops of what seem to be bits of fire. And there's 3 of them.
What do you taste like?
And so they have appeared, So that is that anyway.
Uri,
Meanwhile-
use your pebbles.
the smoky stuff acts as a burst that includes Runt and Iru. And it is
You mean Uri?
Oh, yes, Uri and Runt are going to be hit with this cloudy effluvia of the same action as when he threw down the pebbles. And yes, so it's the beings that were just created are somewhat obscured by this particular cloud, and it seems to affect your vision and makes your eyes water and sting.
Okay.
So that is that. He actually shifts his position within it, and it's hard to tell exactly where he is because of that.
Okay.
So that's his movement. So to answer your question, Uri says, better than that. And streaking out of the sky come two bright red metallic-looking birds that swoop down, and each one passes just past her, and you can see that she is directing them. She's pointing, and they and swoop right down behind her and then forward, outward, and they move in these curving arcs that are going to be attacking at the creatures. So they enter into combat with a couple of these guys that Iru has created. Okay, so yes, they slash past, and the guys, with all the weapons and stuff are, shouting and striking back at them and stuff like that. So the chaos has begun. So next up would be Runt and Azalea.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think I checked the rules about who's supposed to go first, and we're supposed to do it by initiative bonus.
Yeah,
that would be you. That has to be you because I've got 0.
Okay, that's right. Yes.
Runt shuts out. Subdue Iru, and all of this ends.
I very much doubt that. I think Azalea is going to try and skirt around the edge of this chaotic battle to towards where Uri and Runt are.
Okay, so that's your movement.
Yeah. How far away are they? Are they sort of...
This is where we really need a battle mat. I'm actually looking at this is a pretty broad area. And although you guys, I think, had all come reasonably close to one another, it's not like you all bunched up. So right. I think that we're talking about at least 5 squares between the two siblings. And there was nothing to indicate that you guys had left their vicinity.
Right.
Right. So you're next to her, and you two are next to him.
Mm-hmm.
He has shifted in the cloud that he has created, but that's just 1 square. So to go directly to them is a 5 square move. To move around, you said you were kind of doing it in sort of a more circling or less direct way. Depends on how wide.
How many of the Wildens are there, and are they sort of around Uri and Runt as well?
Well, they are surging forward, but they have that their initiative hasn't happened yet. And as far as how many of them are concerned, there were at least 10 that came with you. How many are actually attacking is more like 4.
Okay, yes. I think... Actually, can I say that Azalea delays her round?
Yes, you can.
Later
Okay, so then Runt,
She indicated to the little wildly guys that they ought to be attacking Iru, right? They ought to be taking him down. Okay. Runt is going to rush in and perform a Goran charge. And bellowing at Iru that he should stand down. I'm gonna try to knock him prone. So I'm moving on my. I guess on my move action, I move, and then also my Goring charge. It counts as a charge, which is also a move. So in theory, I can get to wherever he's at.
Yes, that's correct.
And then instead of doing a basic melee attack, I make a attack like this. But is he heavily concealed or totally obscured?
No, he is in. I shall tell you.
It's
he
page 281.
No, the zone grants concealment.
Okay. All right, I can live with that.
And you're -2 on the attack.
Yeah. Okay. 15 versus armor class.
Versus his armor class, which happens to be, and that's with the -2 and everything.
Yes.
Okay. His armor does not beat his armor class, and you lout right past him in a truly impressive Minotaurian rush that goes nowhere.
My people have a proverb for that escapes me at the moment.
Right.
But on my minor action, I am going to inflict a battle mind's demand.
Excellent.
Targeting him, which marks him
yes.
Until he does it again. And I think that there's a couple of different things happen because he's been marked.
The main thing is his penalty against anybody else.
Yes, and also if he attacks anybody adjacent to me, he gets a whammy. Yeah, he gets a whammy. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So excellent. Let's take the. Okay, so that's Runt. So that's Azalea. Okay, so Azalea, you can speak up whenever you want. Otherwise, it's Eneku and all those guys that Iru created.
Okay, so Eneku's plan is actually to move right next to Iru and say, unless, so this is his plan. It's possible that something prompts him that it's a bad idea. This will not be resolved here. We must go into the crystal. We must enter. Bring it out. We must return to your door.
So you're talking to Iru. What role are you going to use to influence him in this fashion?
Well, so at this point,
Dungeoneering?
No. I mean, I think I have to pick, intimidate or diplomacy.
Correct.
It's actually pretty much irrelevant in terms of die roll for him. He's going to have to be relying, either on luck or a carryover effect from his earlier negotiation.
No, and counterpower.
So he's going to attempt his diplomacy.
Because this would have been the perfect moment to use that too. But go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
always the way.
This is the.
Now you did succeed in the previous roll, and I'm not going to take that away from you.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that different. It wasn't really that different. All you have to do really is get his attention. So you really have a very low target number.
Yeah. Well, so we'll give it a shot.
Because I'm not going to just waste that previous roll of yours.
Yeah. So he will achieve a 14.
That'll do it. All you had to do is make a 10.
And so this still seems to him like the right thing to do. So he calls on Iru to bring out the crystal. He wants to enter. He'll try and actually Since Runt just went streaming by, he'll call on Runt to join them. We all should enter the crystal. The answer is not out here. It is in there. He's very confident.
Okay. Is that the end of your turn?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so
Yes, go ahead.
Azalea and wants to take her turn now.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to. She's going to try and get close enough to Uri.
Yes.
To tell her or warn her that her brother is going to enter the crystal and try and take all the power for himself, and she must do the same and use her crystal now.
Roll.
And I'm hoping this is a bluff. I feel this is a bluff roll.
It is totally a bluff.
Which is my best roll, but it'll do. Okay, and that is a 17.
That is very effective. She, interestingly enough, goes. Oh, all the attackers go next.
She's gone.
Yeah. Let's get them going.
So I kind of probably did a move, and is that a minor or a standard action, bluffing her in that way?
I actually think it's a standard.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Two of the I think the skill rolls during combat have kind of got to be standards.
Okay.
She was not as unfriendly to you guys as Iru, or sorry, as Iru was. He was unfriendly. She was neutral. So, especially
that's why she should have 2 crystals.
Ah, I see. And so, so she's looking. She takes out her crystal as all of the forest creatures just run shrieking into battle. Basically, they are met with enthusiasm by all of the axe kind of guys. It's a shitstorm. You've got the tusked savages against the wilderness, elfy Wilden guys, and you've got these weird ass hawks like wheeling and spinning in and out, in sinuous paths of destruction, all with this weird cloud, starry sparkle cloud, making it all confusing, and the crystalline effects from the just over yonder are about to crash in upon you all. So in the midst of all this, Uri holds up her crystal and looks at Azalea. Actions. New round.
Iru and Uri.
Yeah. Well, it's Iru goes first, and he is going to back up even more. He's got some interesting powers that involve helping all of his buddies rather than doing a whole bunch himself. Yeah, he's going to fling something at you, Runt. He is terrified of you, actually, and
Good.
is going to zap you. Which is another. I mean, he does all these things where he waves his hands and these bursts of starry clouds and vapors and stuff explode all over the place. And this one is 15, so it's that one 7. Okay, so 22 against your will.
That gets me.
All right, you are going to take. Well, that's a good question. Interesting. This cloud settles upon you with what feels like 1,000 needles. It does no damage at this time.
Okay.
And he also shouts exhortations to his warriors who scream as one. They seem very loyal to him. Next is going to be Runt himself. Oh,
What
actually, it's
about,
going to be
Uri?
she doesn't go yet. Well,
Oh.
Well, let's see. Did she actually really go? She took out the crystal, No, she would have.
She commanded the Hawks on her first turn.
Right. Well, no,
and pulling out an object is a minor action.
Right, I know. The Hawks actually are the ones who went. She didn't command the Hawks; they just went.
Oh, okay.
So it's their action. But you're right that I kind of cheated her out of her earlier action on the end of the last round.
Yeah.
So So I'm going to actually have her do something. You're right. She'll go ahead and she'll go ahead and activate the crystal. So she's doing that. I would say that so crystalline effects are shimmering and in effect on Azalea and on Uri. And they are, if anybody's looking, they're activating Iru's crystal as well. He just doesn't notice it yet. By her getting hers going, it's getting his going too.
Okay.
So yes, the Hawks strike. They are going to be actually. This isn't going to be too much fun. They're going after. One of them is going after Ineku. Because that's. Because that would make sense. Sadly. Armor class.
Will be 17.
Oh man, you guys are getting a lot harder to hit.
We've always been this.
Yeah,
we've been here for a while actually.
Yeah, and the one of them zips past you. The other one cuts up one of the soldier guys, the raider guys. So, but it misses you. You do not get an attack of opportunity against it. It has invulnerability against that. Okay. Take your that was them. Okay, the next is Runt.
How close am I to what's his face? Iru.
He's shifted twice. So and you have charged past him. You're probably a solid 4 hexes away.
Okay. I'm going to use my. I know this cloud thing is going to get me, but I'm going to move 4 hexes or 4 squares to get within range on my move action.
Take 12 damage.
All right. On my, is he still partially concealed?
Yes. So you got your -2. He's staying within the cloud, that's for sure.
Okay. I am entering a blood hunt rage to get this guy. And so it's a total of +4 versus armor class. So, God, I miss. But
it's a daily, right? So and it's still going to do
daily
something.
Does half damage. So give me just a second to count that out. So it's 11, 15, it's 20. He takes 12 points of damage.
So tit for tat on that one. So it's basically an axe strike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. With a suitably dramatic, rageful presentation.
Yeah.
Right.
And no, I'm not gonna. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna burn it. I think.
Ooh.
Can I Gauntlets of Ogre Power as a free action? Am I allowed to do that after the strike, or do I have to declare that?
No, you can do a free action whenever.
Okay, so I'm invoking the gauntlets and I'm doing an extra 5 points of damage to it.
Oh, good enough. Okay, yeah. Even if I'm sliding a little bit on that one, I can live with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's actually quite savage. I need to check his 17 points is no small amount. So that's going to be.
He's probably fine.
Well, I would like him to be fine.
That would bloody me.
Yeah.
What does bloodied look like for a shard mind? You don't have blood.
My coherence decreases.
That happens to me when I drink.
Well, some people think that Eneku is perpetually low coherence, but that's
That's
a
right.
mental state as opposed to a physical one.
All right, let's go ahead and see what happens with. That's actually pretty effective, James.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and see what happens with the with Eneku. What are you going to do?
So he's going to try and grab at the crystal
Right.
that's glowing at Iru's waist or
Right.
pouch or wherever it happens to be hanging out, and calling out again, "Everyone, the answers are not out here; they are within."
Right.
And grabbing for the
You're,
crystal.
you're only postponing the conflict.
You have. You will. Well, she's already activated it. So if what you're basically doing is entering, then you go in.
All right, that's what he does.
Excellent. Okay. So your crystal form expands as that crystal expands, and for a moment all is as one between you and that crystal. And then there is this shattering, brilliant glow. And so we shall deal with that in a moment. What about okay, all those guys are going to be fighting each other. There's too much chaos. The nice thing about having all these people, these mooks all hitting each other real hard, is I guess I could be a little more chaotic about it. You know, I'm going to see if any of them go after any of you. That's just the sensible thing to do. The question is whether any of them go after Azalea.
Okay.
Armor class?
Do I get my turn first? Because I went straight after Aniku last time.
Oh, that's right, you do. Sorry. No, actually, they go on 10.
Okay.
You guys all go on 10, apparently.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that
and
makes sense.
Eneku was also on 10.
Yeah, Eneku was on 10, and so are they, and I put Azalea at 9. Because she
Okay.
dropped, but she dropped after.
Yeah.
She dropped after Eneku.
Alright.
So
Oh, pass.
what's your
16.
what's that?
16.
Okay.
Hurt.
Okay. You are hit by 2 of the of these savage guys, and they're hurling axes.
Ouch.
Yes, and so and they're actually quite nasty at it. One of them rolled a critical, natural 20. And they've got
Which is maximum damage, right?
It's more than that. The critical is D12 plus 15. Right. Which in criticals do maximum damage on the die roll, so that means 27 points.
Yow!
Okay.
And
Is that
so
for all together or just for one of them?
wait, say that again? No, that's one of them. And that was the one that was next to you. The other one is
Oh, wait a minute. Can I therefore immediately interrupt
Yes.
to use my Iron Mind?
yes.
I've been hit by an attack. Can I therefore get a +2 bonus to my defences, which would give me an arm class of 18 in case that makes a difference to this one hitting me.
Well, he did roll a 20.
Oh, and I meant to the one after him hitting.
Oh, the one after him. Yes, actually, that will do it. That will do it because he barely hit, and that particular axe goes right past you, and you are saved from the additional damage. That is true.
Okay.
All right then. So could be worse. But you have taken quite a shattering blow, I believe.
Yes.
Mhm.
Ron, is there enough time for Runt to yell out one thing to Iru?
Sure.
Not as an action or anything like that.
Yeah. Sure.
But he yells out, "You are in no condition to face the Guardian. Hand over the crystal."
Okay. And so good. There, and then it is Azalea's turn.
Okay.
I will point out that you are next to Iru, and he has no awareness that you're there, as he is currently being struck. No, I'm talking. No. Oh wait, you're talking to Uri.
No,
right?
I was addressing Iru.
I know that.
Azalea is I
right.
think, next to Uri.
That's right, with the whole crystal thing going on there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, she's actually activated the crystal right there. So, Ross,
Yes.
she's actually activated the crystal right there, and Niku is already merging with it. All you have to do is step in.
Okay. I think that's probably a good idea. But first of all, I'm going to take out my healing potion,
Ah,
which is a minor action. Drink my healing potion, which is another minor action. And
and then move in. Yeah.
I should say healing potion sounds really tedious and stupid. I feel this is probably some sort of giant insect which you kind of eat the abdomen of and take. To make
No, that's right. It takes a bite right into it. Excellent. Yeah.
Spend a healing surge, gain 10. Right. And then I step into the...
You know what? I think you wore that around your neck. Everyone always just thought it was just this plain old bug that you wore around your neck and didn't realize it was still alive.
Cool.
Right. So, that's a lot cooler than just any old healing potion. All right, so
It's gone almost.
no problem. And so in you go, poof.
Yes.
And then that's excellent. Next up is them and Uri. Right. You know what? She screams in rage as soon as now it's it's very weird. She is screaming in rage in reaction to Iru being hurt, and she and completely against anything you might have expected. Runt. She brings her both fists up, and you are attacked. Okay, so this is 5 versus Fortitude. Let's see how she does.
I'm at least 5 or 6 squares away, right?
Oh, this is a ranged attack.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this is going to be, the total was 20. It's not a critical. Range 10. 20 versus Fortitude.
Gets me.
Okay. 6 points of force damage. She just raised her fist like this, both of them, and you just took like this incredible, like telekinetic punch, just just hard enough to like make your minotaur, head rock to the side, and then the other one, because she has to use them against different targets. The guy right behind you, one of the raiders, like the piratey looking guys. Basically just heels over, like head over heels from the other punch. And you get make an insight roll, just to make an insight check real quick.
7.
Too bad. Okay, so it's a complete mystery as to why, complete mystery as to why she would have attacked you. And so there's that. And so then, I believe that concludes our round. Go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Now, you had said that you were... Right, that's not a problem. All right. All right. Iru is going to succumb to your Intimidate roll from back in the beginning, just like Uri had finally succumbed to the Diplomacy roll. He's going to finally complete his response to the Intimidate roll, and he says, all right, and he pulls out the crystal. He's dressing Runt.
Okay.
Runt, you're next.
Runt swipes it from his hand.
Aha. You do, and it's already activating.
Right.
So, as you can imagine, in you go.
Okay.
Right. Now, here's the thing I want you to do. You need to make a perception check. And the two of you also need to everybody needs to make a perception check. Because this is actually a little strange.
Ooh, I actually hit a 20.
Wow. Natural 20?
No, 20 total.
Okay.
16.
I had to roll an 18 to get there.
16, not bad. James?
Do I get the benefit of Azalea's ardent mantle or not?
Yes, you do. That's an important point. You do.
Okay. Then I get a 20 as well.
Excellent. Now that's actually pretty cool because you realize that you have arrived in the same spot that you arrived in before. You only realize that there's each of you, how am I going to put it? There are different ways to go. According to Runt, there are two paths to go. Remember how when you arrived, Iru...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. No, sorry. According to Runt, there's one way to go. There's only one way to go, the broad corridor. To the other two, remember how you were, when you were in there and Iru said, I always get confused?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's two ways, and they're both narrow. But the people who hit 20 and above suddenly realize that in these weird crystalline interactions that there's a space that you thought was a wall, but it's not. It's actually more space. And that the Runt is standing on one side of it, the two of you are standing on the other side, and you could easily have walked into each other's space the whole time. It just never would have occurred to you. Somebody who didn't hit that, but hit over 15, I think that was one of you?
Yeah,
Right.
Zelia.
And what you realize is that, well, considering what the other two see, you realize that there's more space here, that this is more complicated than you thought. And that when you had arrived before, that where you thought was possible pathways to walk was not all there was. Whereas what you guys have realized is that it's the same entry point, but depending on which way you come in from, you're going to perceive different ways that you're, quote, allowed to go.
Which of the two siblings have come with us?
None of them.
So far,
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah, it's just you guys at the moment. There are problems. Your failure on the Great Big Skill Challenge is having consequences out there.
Okay.
And
It's why the crystal went berserk. Okay, just letting you know.
if I'm understanding right, Eneku and Runt went through the same crystal, and Azalea went through the other one.
Correct.
So it actually worked out great with our rolls.
Right, because
Eneku is
right,
kind
right.
So
right.
Eneku is kind of like turning to Runt and saying, "This is the way to go," and he really, wait, Azalea's right there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, all three of you are able. Azalea, you catch up on the comprehension pretty quick. Is all I got to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Double take over my shoulder and see them and like.
Right.
And then, okay.
And so yes,
And so Eneku's like, "This is the way we went before."
guys,
And-
here. Let me. We're getting awful late. It's past midnight for me, so I'm going to. I'm going to do one thing for you guys right now, and let you take a peek at that, and we're gonna have to pick up next time.
That actually really works for me too.
Yeah. So let me give you something that I think I want to show you. And I will explain it to you as well so you can have fun. Okay, everybody see that picture? Now, what I want you to do is see that on all four sides there are two ways in. Number one. So the way I'm doing this geomorph is that two openings on either side, which are exactly opposite from one another. So not diagonal or anything, right? But perfectly opposite. Hook up. So if you go to the top right corner and see that weird little narrow corridor there, that's the entry point. And so Runt, in his initial entry, had proceeded toward the center of the geomorph through that broad corridor. Right? And then when you came to either way you went, you would have come out eventually coming to the door from the bottom left corner.
Gotcha.
Whereas either way you would have went, would have taken you to the other side of the door through that one big diagonal corner. So does that make any sense?
It makes disturbing amounts of sense. I know that you were not involved in this, Ron. Or you did not do fantasy computer games early on.
Nope.
But the early wizardry games were all about this kind of thing, where you were trying to make your map, and the computer controlled your wraparounds.
Right.
Of course, they also did teleports and dropped you down a level without you knowing it.
Well, I might do that too, but no, but at this point, this is enough. Dyson Logos did not make these geomorphs for this kind of psychedelic purpose. He just made them to put like next to each other.
Right.
So he made big,
Right.
huge flat
Right.
things, and they're very cool. But I enjoy taking them and doing this with it, and then you get all sorts of weird little intricate secondary effects. Here, you basically end up on either side of this door, depending on whether you go this way or that way where you start. And so I just create the drop-in point at the perfect juncture of the division.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
yeah. So basically, you guys can go to the door from either side from here.
Which
Runt,
will
Runt-
decide, I guess.
Runt shrugs his shoulders and says, I have no interest in the healing of this crystal other than the fact that everyone else wants to do it. My only concern is that that in this conflict between the siblings, that Uri comes out on top. Any other agenda that you two may have, I will support you completely. I regret coming to blows over this.
I think we are in a strange enough situation that I am not confident that any agenda we have is even possible here. But if Uri still, when all is said and done, if Uri still desires to come out on top, I don't think I have a problem with that.
Shall we call it here?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Madness has occurred.
All right.